Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's Tuckshop Network meeting, our first one of term four. I will admit I'm actually doing a recording of this because I had a little bit of a mix up with the recording when everybody was on. So I'm just re-recording it now so that everybody can access the information whenever they need it. So, the topic for today is all about nutrition information panels and smart choices. So, more specifically, how do we use nutrition information to classify menu items where their classification might not be straightforward on the smart choices resources? So, we'll go through all of that shortly. Just before we start, though, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the land in which we meet. I'm presenting to you from Minjin, the traditional lands of the Turrbal and the Yuggera people. I encourage you to also know the First Nations lands and people where you are located and think of ways that you can adapt and use your acknowledgement of country so that it remains meaningful and thought provoking. If you haven't met me yet or been to one of these meetings, I'm Naomi and I'm the project manager for the Healthy Tuckshops program. And also, I have the pleasure of running around and spending time with you wonderful people out and about in Tuckshops. I'm a dietitian by trade, and you can find me at Quast Monday through to Wednesday. Occasionally, there is a Thursday in there as well. My contact details are on the screen there. Feel free to email, call, or send me a message if you've got any questions or queries or you require support in any way, particularly around healthy, profitable tuck shops. I'm more than happy to assist you and support you wherever I can. So, the way these sessions tend to work, if you haven't been to one before, I give you a bit of a Quast update. We run through the topic for today, which is that nutrition information and smart choices. We generally have some time for questions and discussions, and I don't need to run through Zoom etiquette because this is just a recording. I guess we do pick topics based on feedback or questions that we get. And I guess we landed on this topic because throughout my travels and discussions with managers and conveners, people might often ask me or we'll have a discussion about the rating of a product, which they thought was amber, but then I tell them that it's red. This occurs because sometimes in the Smart Choices Ready Reckoner, they could be amber or red, and so we have to drill down a bit deeper as to which classification it is. So I thought I would show everybody how to do this so that everyone can get a better understanding of why things are rated the way that they are. So in terms of a Quast update, we have had some new recipes hit the website. There's the 2025 Recipe of the Year finalist cookbook, which has the 7 finalist recipes in there. We also have a new case study on the website from Sherwood State School, which is all about their OSH and tuck shop combining forces and working together to provide a healthy menu to both OSH kids and via the tuck shop, and how they've done that through combining staff, combining ordering menus, things like that. There's also a financial cheat sheet that has been added as a members only resource as well. So this is a great cheat sheet that includes a whole list of terms that you might come across when you're doing the tuck shop financials or looking at the profit and loss. It also has calculations of how you get to, how you find out those particular terms. If we've got a resource or a benchmark for different items, these are included on that cheat sheet as well, so that you can just click on the resource and go through and find a bit more information. Something that we have updated recently in terms of a benchmark is we have reviewed and updated the student spend per day that the tuck shop is open. So I am not sure when the last kind of data or the benchmarks were collected um, to provide that benchmark. So I have gone through and looked at nearly 2 years worth of financials from the tuck shops that we've visited, and looked and calculated the average spend for students in primary schools, high school, P to 12, and then I looked at those tuck shops that were breaking even or making a profit and looked at what their student spend was to better come up with this benchmark to encourage tuck shops to aim towards, so that you can kind of break even or make a small profit. So that new benchmark is included in that cheat sheet as well. I do have a couple of other resources that are in draft. I'm just kind of waiting approval or finalisation from Health and Wellbeing to be able to get those up onto the website. On the left there is just a list of the training that we've kind of got at the moment. So we've got 3 tuck shop manager courses locked in. We've got one in Bundaberg in a couple of weeks, which is face to face. Another one on the 10th of November in our Coorparoo office, also face to face. And then on the 22nd of January, we've scheduled a virtual one. So the 22nd of January is considered the pupil free days before school returns next year. So most tuck shop conveners and staff are back at work preparing and ordering for the children to come back on the 27th of January. So if you're interested in any of those courses, let me know, or you can register your interest via the website. If there is more demand for those courses, we'll run them more often. It is a great course in terms of it does go over a whole bunch of elements to run and manage a tuck shop successfully. So menu, finances, volunteers, food safety, marketing. It covers lots of things. So it's a really great course. We will have our last food safety supervisor course for the year on next Monday, the 20th of October, which is a virtual course. And then the last 2 courses there are free courses that are available via our website. So that first one is the healthy menu planning course. It's free online, it's self-paced. You can log in and log out whenever you like. And it covers a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about today. So if you want a bit more information about smart choices and how it all works, I encourage you to go and look at that and do that course. It also talks about menu design and time efficient menus as well. So it's a nice little free quick course. And that last one there is the food handling course. So another free one that's available online. This is one that we do recommend all volunteers, tuck shop assistants, even your P&C executives, if they pop in and help in the tuck shop sometimes. We do encourage anyone that has anything to do with the tuck shop to do that free course, because it is just all about providing a safe food service at your school. So new recipes, those top 7 there are what were our finalists for the Recipe of the Year competition that was last term. The taco roll, which is the picture in the middle, was the winner from Coomba State School on the Gold Coast. It is delicious. I've cooked it for my family. They could not get enough of it. And it's very adaptable to different tastes. It can be made vegetarian. What you put inside it can be based on kind of preference and what's available. The runner-up was Marianne's fried rice from Hatton Vale State School. So Marianne is actually a grandma who has volunteered at their tuck shop for a couple of years, and she just used to make this fried rice for her family every Sunday night for family dinner. And so now it feeds, 100 kids every week in the tuck shop, because they also can't get enough of it. So a lovely story and a delicious dish. We also have, so if you're looking for some new menu items, I encourage you to jump on and have a look at these recipes. And certainly they're worth adding to your menu if you're able to do that. We've also added a deconstructed pasta salad there. So that's something, I guess, when we were doing a bit of research for the neurodiverse meeting that we held last term, was being able to provide different food options for children that might want their food to be separated, or different textures, things like that. So that's what that kind of recipe has been, popped up kind of in response to, making sure we're meeting the needs of those students as well. If you are looking for a resource and you can't find it, or we don't have a resource and you think one on a certain topic would be valuable, please let us know. There's a good chance that others will also find it valuable. So let us know and we can make one for you. So smart choices. So most of you have probably heard about smart choices. It's the Education Queensland food and drink supply strategy. It's been around for quite a while. They do have some accompanying resources that come with the strategy. The strategy document itself is actually not a difficult read. It's only kind of 13 or 14 pages, but it has a lot of tables and a lot of easy to follow information in it. There are some additional accompanying resources that go nicely with this, including that healthy menu planning course that I just spoke about. There is also a tool that's called a Ready Reckoner, which is what's on the screen there on the right, which classifies, it's like a summary guide, which has a quick classification for a lot of foods commonly served in tuck shops. It's pretty easy to use. I often see it on notice boards or desks out and about in tuck shops, so I know people do use it. And then we also have something that's called a Smart Choices calculator. So this is on the Quast website, and it allows you to check items that might fall into two categories. So you can just see from the Ready Reckoner picture there that some things are amber or they're red, or they might be green or amber. So this calculator allows you to punch in some nutritional information, to be able to better give you a classification for your menu items. I just thought I'd mention as well that you might have heard through different channels that Smart Choices is currently being reviewed and updated. This is true. Education Queensland and Health and Wellbeing Queensland are currently working to transition this strategy to another one that's called A Better Choice, which they already have in hospitals and healthcare as well as sport and rec. So they have got a timeline for this, which currently they would like to see Smart Choices be transitioned by 2027. So we've still got over a year of working with Smart Choices, but something else is kind of in the pipeline. I am on the advisory committee for this, so I'm not writing the strategy, but I have been asked my opinion and I get the chance to give feedback. The meetings that I have been to have been very positive, so I think that this transition is actually a really good thing. I think it will address some of the things that tuck shops have really struggled with Smart Choices, make that a bit more clear cut. So yeah, I think it's something not to be afraid of. It is something to look forward to. But it is still a little while away. So in the meantime, we do need to kind of promote that compliance with Smart Choices where we can. So, what is a nutrition information panel? I'm sure everyone's looked at these both personally and professionally in the tuck shop. It's a requirement under Australian law for all packaged food products to contain a nutrition information panel. They're generally found on the back or the side of products, and you can also generally find this information on the company's website, or even like Coles and Woolies often have this if they sell that product as well. They're required to include information which includes energy, protein, fats, and sodium, which is salt. Some also have dietary fibre on there as well. They're also required to have the number of servings that that packet will do, as well as the serving size. So you'll notice that they're also required to have two columns with all of those nutrition elements, one which is per serve and the other one which is per 100 grams. So the idea of that 100-gram column is that you can compare products, because not all serving sizes of similar products are the same size, and so that 100 grams gives you an easy point to compare different products, to see which one might have the lower fat or the lower salt. So smart choices depending on what category you're seeking to classify. Some will ask you for that information per serve, and some will ask for that information per 100 grams. So, but all products will contain both of those columns. They're also, you will generally find allergies. So if that product contains any allergies, and they're also required to have an ingredients list on their products as well. So as I mentioned, we do have a Smart Choices calculator on our website. It's free, it's online, and you can use it when the classification of a product or a menu item is unclear, but it does require you to have some of that nutritional information from your product to be able to put it into the calculator. So an example that has come up recently, where people were a bit unsure of the classification, is the commercially bought burger patty. So Smart Choices has burger patties listed as either amber or red, but as we know, not all patties are created equal. So to determine whether the patties I'm going to use in the tuck shop to make my hamburgers are amber or red, I need to put some information into the calculator, and it's going to tell me what that classification will be. So yeah, I had recently gone somewhere where they thought it was amber, and then I suggested actually no, it's red, and the reason I came to that conclusion was because I did this. I put the information through that Smart Choices calculator. So it's quite common for tuck shops to use, say, Coles brand beef patties. They're cheaper to purchase than to buy an equivalent beef patty through a supplier. And so things that I'm going to need to put into the calculator are going to be the energy, saturated fats, and sodium for this product. So I will just show you now. So this is the Quast website. You can find the calculator under recipes and menus. There is a Smart Choices tab there. And so if you click on that, this is the information that you will see. Keep scrolling down, and this is where the calculator is. So for these patties, I'm going to classify it as a hot meal. So we're going to say hot meal here. It's just checking that it's not a drink or a snack. And the next bit of information it's asking me is I have to tick whether it's deep fried, a potato product served on its own, crumbed or coated foods, is it a croissant or sausages or saveloys, it's none of these things. And then I click next. And then this is where it's going to ask me to put in that nutrition information. So for a meal, it does ask for it to be per 100 grams. And so I'd look at that per 100 gram column on the nutrition information. Oh, and the saturated fat is 11.9 grams, and the sodium is 482 milligrams. So then I click find my rating. So it tells me that these patties are actually red. So the reason why they would be red is because if you were to look in the Smart Choices strategy, you will find this table. And so it's telling me that for a hot food, it's got more than 1,000 kilojoules. Its saturated fat is more than 5 grams. And the sodium for this is over 400 milligrams. So that's why it has popped into that red category. So when we were doing this live, someone did ask about, but if you add salad, does it then change this rating to amber? So because it's red, it's still, I love to see salad added to everything and veggies added to lots of things, but it's not actually going to change the rating of this burger because it does have that higher amount of energy, saturated fat, and salt. So this is where going through a supplier offers another advantage as well, because suppliers should be familiar with Smart Choices and what can be served in schools and what these ratings are. And so then they should be able to direct you towards products that do meet that green or amber categories. In saying that, I think it's always a good idea for you to check yourself. It's good to know how to do it because sometimes a category might have been green when it was initially brought to market 10 years ago, but then the makeup of that product has changed, and so it might not be that, it might not be green anymore. So, or a supplier might tell you, yep, it's green, but it's good to come and check, so you can be sure of, the food that you're supplying to the kids in your school. So some products are not going to have a nutrition information panel. So this is particularly true if you're making items on site, which we do strongly encourage. However, recipes may not include a breakdown of nutrition information. So what do we do in this scenario when we don't know whether something's amber or red, or green or amber, and we don't have a nutrition information panel to fall back on? So you can actually create your own panel using the Food Standards Australia and New Zealand website. They have a nutrition panel calculator. So if you go to this calculator, it's a huge database, and you input your ingredients, you input the weight and the serves and a few other things, and then it will provide you with a nutrition information panel that you can then go back to the calculator and put that information in the calculator. So this is something you might need to do particularly for like muffins or sweet baked products. So yeah, I won't show you how to do it because it's a bit more in depth, and you're not expected to do it, but I'll just show you. So I had done one earlier in the year for a veggie roll. So it's like a vegetarian sausage roll equivalent. And so what I had to do was go through and put in all of the ingredients and then the amounts of those ingredients. So you'll notice on the left side of the screen there that the units is always going to be grams or kilograms or mils or litres. So that can be a bit tricky sometimes because our recipes are in cups. So when I'm doing this, I always have another Google tab open that I can quickly Google, how many grams is in an egg. Um, and because you can't just say one egg, they actually want to know, how heavy that egg is. Um, this is so that an accurate nutrition information panel can be provided. The other thing that can take a little bit to get used to as well is that sometimes you need to put things, your food name might need to go in a little bit backwards in terms of, so self-raising flour, for example, you can't just type self-raising flour. You actually need to go flour, comma, self-raising, and then some options will come up, whether it's wholemeal, whether it's white, whether it's gluten-free, and so then you can select that item. So when you do all that, and it will calculate the weight for you, and then it spits out a nutrition information panel that then you can then use and keep that on file. If anyone wants to ask you exactly the breakdown of it, which is not going to happen a lot in primary schools, but it might happen in high school. So this is quite a labour-intensive process, and I appreciate that in the tuck shops you don't often have a lot of spare time in your day. You're not expected to drill down this deep on all of your menu items. I just wanted to explain the process if anybody did want to make sure their classifications are accurate or, complying with smart choices. Generally, I kind of advise if you use healthy cooking guidelines when you're cooking, such as using, reduced fat dairy, wholemeal flours where you can, adding fruit and veg, not adding salt, limiting sugars, then generally speaking, there's a good chance that those items that you're making in the tuck shop are not going to be red. So on that Fazan's website, there are some little videos and some tips on how to do this. So you're more than welcome to check those out, or I'm happy to help you with recipes if you do want to know what something is rated as. So in summary, to check a classification, firstly go to that Ready Reckoner, and then if it's not clear, you can then use the Smart Choices calculator if you've got nutrition information. If you're still not sure, feel free to contact Cost and we can help you with that classification, or you're more than welcome to have a go at generating your own panel, or we can kind of help you do that. So if you do use recipes from the Quast website, all of our recipes already have been rated. So there's a little apple on the screen there next to the rating. So you will only find green and amber recipes on our website. So you don't need to go through and do your own classification if you're using one of our recipes. However, I do think it is valuable to know the process and how we get to those ratings. So in terms of what's coming up next, there won't be a Tuck Shop Network meeting in 2 weeks online because we're going to be in Bundaberg, where we're going to run a face-to-face one in which we're collaborating with Pick of the Crop to kind of talk about how tuck shops and school gardens can work together. Really looking forward to that trip to Bundaberg. So if you're in Bundaberg, Maryborough, Hervey Bay, Childers, anywhere that you're happy to travel into Bundy, would love to see you. Or if you do want us to drop in, please shoot me through an email and let me know, and we can see if we can pop in and see you. And then in week 6, we will run a meeting about catering for profit. So that will be the last one for the year, which kind of seems a bit crazy. But we do have a few tuck shops that include catering as part of their menu, and it definitely adds a lot of weight to their bottom line. And so we thought we'd kind of showcase how people can do that alongside the tuck shop service that you're already providing. As always, the recording of the session will be available within a few days, and I'll email out the PowerPoint and any links to people listening. Yeah, but if you do have any questions or you need additional support, please keep in touch. Or if there are some topics that you would like covered in Tuckshop network meetings, let me know. I am more than happy to take your feedback so that we're providing information that is what you guys want to know about. All right, thanks everyone, and we will see you next time.